A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Mark. After the 5,000 had eaten and were satisfied, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and precede him to the other side toward Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. And when he had taken leave of them, he went off to the mountain to pray. When it was evening, the boat was far out on the sea, and he was alone on shore. Then he saw that they were tossed about while rowing, for the wind was against them. About the 4th watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. He meant to pass by them, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out. They had all seen him and were terrified. But at once he spoke with them, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." He got into the boat with them, and the wind died down. They were completely astounded. They had not understood the incident of the loaves. On the contrary, their hearts were hardened. The Gospel of the Lord. Do not be afraid. Which command in the Bible is the most repeated? This one. Do not be afraid. Jesus reassures the disciples terrified at a figure walking on the angry sea that it is He, not some ghost, and so they should not be afraid. We will be less doubtful and distressed in hardships when we come to recognize the presence of God in our lives. With God, we need not be afraid of anything. The year 2020 was an annus horribilis, a terrible year. The volcanic eruption of Taal was the opening salvo, and the rest of the year was horribly affected by the pandemic. Everybody's life was affected. Much like the disciples on the boat, we fear what would become of our future and how we could survive. Still, Christ made himself known and calms our fears in many ways, making us trust all the more in his person. The first reading says that true love is not driven by fear. There can be no real discipleship if we are simply afraid of divine punishment. True discipleship recognizes the bond of love between God and the believer. The believer does what is right because he or she loves. What is the basis for my actions? Do I strive to be a good person because I am afraid? Or am I truly in love with God? Do I recognize the presence of God who calms all my fears?